Hey Planty people, what are the right questions to ask when it comes to pests? Here are a couple. What do you mean I've got bugs on my plants? And how could this happen? Well, first off, it's probably not your fault. Probably. Stick around and I'll tell you when it could be. A lot of times, plants come from the store with insects or eggs on them, which could mean they came from the nursery with eggs or bugs. But that doesn't mean it's a bad plant shop or even a bad nursery. Bugs gotta eat too, and when there's a whole crop of juicy new growth like in a nursery greenhouse, it's impossible to keep them all at bay. Okay, fine, but you still don't want those nasty little critters chewing on your plants. So how do you get rid of them? It all depends on the type of insect. Soft-bodied insects like aphids, spider mites, mealybugs, thrips, whitefly, and scale are the most common houseplant insects. Most of them can travel, so first and foremost, if you see insects or insect damage, isolate it from your other plants and check to make sure that it hasn't spread to the rest of them. But before you go out and buy a bunch of nasty chemicals, first, try some gentler, less toxic methods with stuff you already have around the house. For aphids, first, just try rinsing them off the plant, either with a hose blast or in your sink or shower. Aphids can't get back on the plant once they're washed off. So that should do the trick. If they come back, they may have laid some eggs which have hatched. So as they say, rinse and repeat, or in this case, repeat and rinse. If it's a really stubborn infestation that just won't go away, try a soap spray. Just mix a few drops of a mild soap like Dawn or Dr. Bronner's in some water in a little spray bottle, and then spray it all over the plant. And make sure to get the undersides of the leaves. Let it sit for 10 minutes or so in a shady spot, then rinse them away. This works for a lot of other insects as well, like spider mites, whitefly, thrips, although thrips can be extra stubborn. Soft-bodied insects have an oily coating. It's what keeps them dry when it rains, and the soap breaks down the oil, and then they drown. Mealybugs have sort of a waxy coating that makes them look like little bits of cotton roaming around on your plant. Gross. The soap will break that down too, but not as efficiently. The best remedy for mealy is a cotton swab and some alcohol. Just look in all the little cracks and crevices on your plant, especially new growth, and whenever you see that white fluff, wipe it away with the swab. You may have to do this a few times since they may have laid eggs or have been too small for you to see. Be vigilant. Scale insects have soft bodies, but they excrete a hard shell that adheres to the plant leaf. How dare they call themselves soft-bodied? They're most often found on cacti and succulents, but I've seen them on ferns too. These can be removed just with your fingernail. Just scrape them off, and again, be vigilant. Check your plant every few days and repeat the process. Spider mites and thrips are the tiniest insects that can infest your plants. They do extensive damage before you even know they're there. If your leaves are looking pale and you're sure you haven't been overwatering and your plant is getting enough sun, then check it for little webs, especially on the base and underside of the leaves. If you see them, you got spider mites. Time for a soap spray. If you don't see webs, then it could be thrips, and you might as well try a soap spray, although it may take several tries to get rid of them all. At some point, you might want to ask yourself how attached you are to that plant and how far you want to go to get rid of the thrips. Systemic insecticide generally comes in a granulated form that you work into the soil and is taken up by the roots. In other words, it makes the entire plant toxic, not just to insects, but to people and pets too. So honestly, I don't recommend it unless it's a very important plant that you can't live without, and you can be absolutely sure that Fluffy or Fido or your toddler won't be chewing on it. Systemic is not something to be used cavalierly like at the first sign of infestation. It's the last resort. It will also stay in the soil, which means the soil is toxic too. So before we dump a lot of toxic soil into our landfills, we should try less harmful methods. Then there's the bane of every planty person's existence, fungus gnats. Ugh, gross. They're not as harmful to plants as the ones I've already mentioned, but who wants a bunch of little flies hovering around their plants? If you let it get too bad, the larvae can actually eat plant roots, but otherwise they're just a nuisance. So how did you get them? Overwatering is one way, and yes, if you overwater your plants, it's your fault. Constantly wet soil is a literal breeding ground for fungus, and the gnats lay their eggs in the fungusy soil, which is what their larvae eat, making it a literal breeding ground for fungus gnats. I've even seen brand new bags of soil already infested with them. So how do you get rid of them? First, and most importantly, water less frequently. If there's no fungus growing near the top of the pot, the gnats won't be attracted to it. Some folks exclusively bottom water their plants just for this reason. Secondly, make sure your plants aren't too crowded and have plenty of airflow around them. This also prevents fungus from forming in the soil. You can also use BT or Bacillus thuringiensis, which is, well, it's a mouthful, but it's also an across-the-board larva killer. You've probably seen it in the garden section as mosquito dunks or bits used to put in standing water to kill mosquito larvae, but it also works just as well on gnat larvae. You just let some steep in the water overnight and then water your plants with it, just not as often. So don't forget, pests are out there looking for your plants. Stay one step ahead of them. Be ever vigilant. Examine your plants regularly so that they don't take over. A great time to do this is when you're watering. As you water each plant, take a good look at the leaves, especially the undersides where insects like to hide. Make sure they're pest-free and stay that way. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments, and please like and subscribe to my channel and hit that bell to be notified when I release a new video. You can also find me on Instagram at planty.gen, where I share photos and tips as well. If you'd like to learn more about me, please visit my website at plantygenstinylandscapes.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Time for that theme song.
If your plants look sad and you've lost all hope, tried everything, you're at the end of your rope. Should you throw them out into the street? Nope, just ask Planty Gen. If you wanna be a planty acolyte, learn the tips and tricks to keep them growing right. Water, fertilizer, and the right amount of light, just ask Planty Gen.